尋晚有個女仔等你等咗好耐，等低封信話要俾你喎。
係啊，
係啊，空姐嚟㗎。嗱，你睇唔睇啊？
咖啡先。
Chungking Express is a Hong Kong film that came out in 1994 that's written and directed by Wong Kar-Wai. So Chungking Express was last week's Patient Poll winner, and I was absolutely ecstatic about that fact because Wong Kar-Wai is a filmmaker that I've just been having a blast diving into his filmography. Fallen Angels was the first film that I saw from him. I saw it a few months ago and did a review for it, and even though I wasn't really in love with it on first watch, it's a film that I really just couldn't get the style out of my head, and there was just so much about it that just had a lingering effect on me. And it really left me with the desire to continue to dive into his work. And so every other week or so, I would put a Wong Kar-Wai film on the Patron poll, and so far, every single one of his films have pretty much won overwhelmingly. In the Mood for Love won. I also did a review for that. And that's a film that I just think is a masterpiece. There's no wiggle room for me when it comes to that film. That film, I think, is absolutely brilliant. It's beautiful. But either way, Chungking Express was a film that I was really dying to get into because obviously it's a Wong Kar-Wai film, but on top of that, I had heard that this is, in a way, kind of a prequel to Fallen Angels because, if I'm correct, Wong Kar-Wai wanted to make Chungking Express and Fallen Angels into just this one big film. Obviously, Chungking Express being the first part of it, and then Fallen Angels being the second part of it. So, Fallen Angels, in a way, is a sequel to Chungking Express. So that was an aspect of this film that really caught my attention. But honestly, if you want to hear a really insightful rundown regarding this film in terms of its history in the making, and just overall a lot of really neat facts and info about this film, you should watch a video on YouTube that has Quentin Tarantino just pretty much talking for 11 minutes just about his experience with this film, and just, again, a lot of really interesting facts in regard to the making of this film that I think a lot of people find incredibly interesting. And it's kind of crazy because when I watched Fallen Angels, I mentioned this in the review, I was like, this looks like something that Tarantino would be hugely inspired by. Because just the way that Wong Kar-Wai uses music and the way that he writes his characters seemed so much like how Quentin Tarantino would write his films and also craft them. And it's really cool to see that Quentin Tarantino was truly inspired by this guy. And pretty much all of that really energetic, fun style that's apparent in Fallen Angels is incredibly apparent to Chungking Express. And honestly, you wouldn't even need anybody to tell me that this was made before Fallen Angels and was meant to be a part of this big project with Fallen Angels. Because Chungking Express has all of that same stylistic energy. And honestly, at this point, I think I might actually like Chungking Express better than Fallen Angels. You know what? It's not even actually. I do like Chungking Express better than Fallen Angels. Fallen Angels is still a great film. I really like that film. But Chungking Express is a film that I thought to be absolutely beautiful. And this is a film that I felt, in a way, actually moved me a bit. And I found there to be a lot of reasons as to why that is. And I'll dive into all of them. But let me just mention something about the overall style and aesthetic. This film is just shot beautifully. In my Fallen Angels review, I don't think I really even talked about Christopher Doyle behind the camera. I'm going to shout him out more here. Christopher Doyle, he's an amazing cinematographer. This film is shot to perfection. I wouldn't change a single thing about it. Just everything in regards to cinematography, the framing, the blocking, the mise-en-scène, the color, the lighting. everything is just so stunning to look at. And there are so many shots in this film that just get stapled into your mind because of how beautifully framed they are and just how iconic and memorable they are. And yeah, I mean, obviously Wong Kar-Wai also has a huge part in it, but Christopher Doyle seems to be a guy that really knows what he's doing behind the camera. And I think from all the films that I've seen from Wong Kar-Wai, Doyle really helps Wong Kar-Wai in terms of his craft and really breathes this aesthetic life to his films that I really admire and appreciate. Because every Wong Kar-Wai film that I've seen so far that has Christopher Doyle behind the camera is just some of the most gorgeous stuff that I've ever seen. But obviously, Wong Kar-Wai's style is something that really elevates this film and elevates the material to a whole other level. Because, yeah, even though I think this film is written beautifully, I love the writing to this film. In terms of the characters, in terms of the story, in terms of its themes, all that is just absolutely wonderful work. But it's obviously that style that is so admirable and so fun to watch. And kind of like in Fallen Angels, he uses that really interesting, really low frame rate that looks like a really laggy live stream or something. And he uses that in certain points in the film, but I love the way it's utilized because, especially in Fallen Angels and in Chungking Express, like, kind of like someone's mental state is reflected through that frame rate. It's stuff like that that just makes it really fun to watch. And it comes off really smooth and suave, which I don't know how he's able to do it because, again, it's a really low frame rate and it's obviously choppy, but somehow he really makes it seem really suave. And I think it's incredible the way he's able to achieve that. And again, like, not only that, but his style and his fingerprints are just all over this film. Again, it's a very animated film as well. And I think that's why, like, Tarantino gets a lot of influence from him. Because what I used to say about Tarantino before I really started watching a lot of the filmmakers that he's influenced by was just, oh, like, I can tell Tarantino really likes watching anime because just the way that his films are directed and the way he writes his characters and his stories come off like, you know, like Japanese animation. And it's kind of the same with Chungking Express and Fallen Angels. Like, you get that really animated vibe to where the characters are not only relatable, but they feel a bit cartoony, but not too over the top to where you feel like it's over dramatic and really overreaching for something. I think Tarantino's execution and his characters are actually much more over the top, and he still manages to make that work too in his own way, but it's definitely not as dramatic as Tarantino's work, is all I'm saying. But I also love the way Wong Kar-Wai incorporates music in his films, because a lot like Fallen Angels, this film incorporates a score and a soundtrack incredibly well to where not only does it add a personality to certain scenes, but it adds personality to the characters and are actually there to enhance and convey certain themes about them. And I could see some people say, because I have talked to some of my close friends about this film already, and they believe that the song California Dreaming was used way too much in this film. All the leaves are brown, leaves are brown. And honestly, like, I'm not going to argue with them and tell them that it's not, because it is used a lot. Like, probably more than I've ever seen a song be reused and recycled so many times in a film. But it didn't bother me. Like, it really, honest to God, did not bother me. Because it's obviously there intentionally. It's there to say something about this character. And it just came off really fun. And it's obviously like a character trait. And I thought it was something that was utilized well. It didn't really bother me at all. The only thing that kind of bothered me were some few aspects of the score that had this really exaggerated and over-the-top, like, saxophone sound that at times I thought was just fun, and I really enjoyed it because I was just having fun with it. But then there are other times where I was like, alright, you can tone down the saxophone just a little bit. Yeah, only, like, those little moments where I thought, like, it could have just been, you know, pulled back just a little bit. But overall, like, I love the way Wong Kar-Wai uses music in this film, and I think he uses it beautifully. But we have to talk about how well written the characters are in this film, because I fell in love with these characters, and I truly bought every ounce of romance that was presented in this film. I mean, in my personal opinion, I think the second half of this film just works a little bit better on the more, like, in terms of writing and romance. I personally just kind of like resonated with that a little bit more. But even the first half is really has a really interesting dynamic between characters. And what's present in both stories is that they're really subtle romance tales, because kind of like In the Mood for Love, that film was extremely subtle, and just the overall power and the emotion that's conveyed in that film is expressed through its subtleties. And that's a little bit apparent through this film as well, because there are little actions that certain characters do that really tell a lot about who they are as a person. And that's apparent in the first half, and it's apparent in the second half. And it's those little details and how they react to certain situations, again, that really tell you a lot about their character. And I love those tiny little details, because those little details really go a long way and really add a layer of authenticity to the story and the characters. So if I had to pick a favorite character in this film, I'd probably have to pick Faye Wong's character, whose name is Faye in the movie. And I know that's kind of a cliche thing to say, because I'm sure that everybody who has seen this film, she just stole everyone's heart already. But her character in this film is, you can't help but adore it. And she's definitely like a quirky kind of character, like this really like off, weird, and quirky type of girl. But, you know, I feel like she really hit the sweet spot of quirkiness. Like, it didn't feel over the top. It didn't feel forced. You really buy her character, and you really get attached to her character. And you also are really invested in the kind of romantic dynamic between her and Tony Chu Lung's character, who I've seen in The Mood for Love. He's great in that film, and he's excellent in this film as well. But what I learned from the kind of Tarantino presentation of this film was that Faye Wong is like a huge artist in China. And this was her first ever film. Like, this is her first like lead role in any kind of feature film. And apparently, like, she just like blew up even more from this film, and she got nominated and won tons of awards for it. And I just think that's really awesome stuff. But either way, I think one thing that really made me like this film a little bit more than Fallen Angels is because I felt more attached to these characters, and I felt more invested into the story that was being presented. And I think that's just because it's not as wild, and it's not as ambitious with its non-linear structure. Like, it is non-linear, but it's not as erratic in terms of structure. And that kind of made it easier for me to focus in on the story and get invested into these characters. And I forgot to mention, by the way, this film has a cover song of the Cranberry song called Dreams. And it's a Chinese version that is covered by Faye herself. And I think that's absolutely interesting, because when I was watching the film, I was like, this is a great cover song, because it really sounds like it captures the spirit of the original, and it sounds incredibly genuine. And just to know that she was the one that covered the song that is in the film is really exciting, and it's something that is hugely admirable, and just makes me respect her more as an artist and also an actress. But yeah, I absolutely love this film. I feel like it's a little bit pointless for me to talk about it, because so many people have already talked about this film, and they already know so much about it. So I'm just kind of coming in as somebody's like, hey, here's my thoughts on the film, and I hope you give a shit about it. But I mean, what more else is there to say about this film? I think it's beautifully crafted. Wong Kar-Wai is somebody who obviously has a true passion for filmmaking, and has his own creative style that for me just really worked, because he knows how to incorporate camera, he knows how to incorporate music, and he knows how to write really interesting story and characters. So yeah, I really love this film. I think In the Mood for Love is still my favorite Wong Kar-Wai film, but so far, out of Fallen Angels, In the Mood for Love, and Chungking Express so far is my second favorite Wong Kar-Wai film. And I really cannot wait to buy that box set. That comes out next month, but I'm going to wait till July to get it half off. And once I buy that box set, I'm probably going to watch a few more that I haven't gotten the chance to see yet. With all that being said, I'm going to give Chungking Express a soft 9 out of 10. Please check this film out when you get the chance. It's weird, because going into this, I heard like mixed things about it in terms of it being compared to Fallen Angels, because a lot of people told me that Like, yeah, it's a pretty good film, but like Fallen Angels is a superior film. But I disagree. I think that this film really just gave me a lot more, and I thought not only was it more entertaining, but I was genuinely moved by it in certain ways, and I really loved it for that. But either way, that's all I got to say about Chungking Express. If you really enjoyed what I had to say about it, please give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.